Welcome to Game Set Mash. I'm Todd, you know JB, you know Chris, but we have the all-star rugby player from the University of Kentucky and R&D master distiller in front of a green screen, Jarrad Gollihue, with us today. So when it's not a green screen, it's a real screen, and he'll tell you the truth about his
fake.
rugby. So all
I
I've
just need him
heard,
to pour from the barrel real
I
quick.
heard he was an
Can you reach
all-star.
back?
Somebody lied to you because I definitely played B-side and was just happy to be there.
You couldn't have given me that fact and not have me say something about that.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite things I did in undergraduate for sure. And there was a period of time where I was just making wine for the University of Kentucky and playing rugby. I had graduated and I was just like, this is the best thing in the world. Being 22, make wine all day, work at the farm, then go play rugby. It was great.
Did you always like
Making
rugby?
wine is crazy.
I'm sorry?
You
Like making wine, like your job is at school is making wine. That's like the most like alcoholic thing you could think of, right? Like it's just, that's just so crazy.
Especially for the university.
Yeah. So I got into making in the alcoholic industry in a weird way. I was at the University of Kentucky where I did my undergraduate degree. I was doing plant science research. And at that point in my life, I kind of thought I was going to be going to work with like Bayer, crop science, Dow, DuPont, something like that. So like my horticulture degree was really a plant science degree, like biochemistry classes, genetics. I think they told me I was the only person to request organic 2 as an elective. That I had to get an override for it, and they just went, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Well, I think I need it." And they were, and then I don't know if you take a class like that, at the first class, the professor asked everyone to stand up, and he started naming off degrees, and as you would sit down, and I was the last person standing, and he looks at me, and there's like 300 people in this auditorium, and he goes, "Okay, so the food science guy sat down, and you're still standing. What are you?" And I go, "Oh, I'm a horticulture student." And he just went, "What?"
That's crazy.
He's like, "What is that?"
Yeah. Well, he knew. So where I was doing research, he knew the professor I did research under as an undergraduate. So I was like, "I'm one of Seth the Bolt's students," and he goes, "Oh, that guy. I know him. Great guy." And then, I'll be honest, I didn't do super great in organic 2 on the theory side.
The one that you requested, you didn't do super great in?
Well, it's really hard.
Right. Well, at what point did you decide I'm going from plant to the wine, and then obviously down the road to the whiskey,
and then bourbon?
So, what happens is that wine actually, when you get to the technical parts of it, is got a lot of chemistry behind it. And I got interested in it because, and I'll be honest, I didn't realize food sciences was a thing until I was about done with my degree, and I went, "Oh, I probably should have done that." But I've always been into plants and flavor. So the way I got to wine is the enology and viticulture program at UK was inside of the horticulture department. So down the hall from the lab that I was doing plant sciences research in was the enology lab. And if you know, at the University of Kentucky, the director of the James B. Beam Institute, who was my boss, Seth DeBolt, he got his PhD in grapes and wine. And I started to get kind of curious about it because it has some interesting chemistries to it. There was an extension question. So extension is research done at the university for farmers and producers of various crops. So I got interested in it because the wine grapes grown here in Kentucky at that time had some weird issues that prevented forming good chemistries to make good, stable red wine. Got really interested in that problem and then jumped over into wine production to pursue that question. And while I was doing that, I then picked up the kind of some training from Jeff Wheeler at the university on blending, fermentations, how to keep things sanitary, all of that. And then I did that for, I guess, 2-ish years. And then I got a phone call from Seth, the guy who I worked for, doing plant science, and he's like, "Hey, there's this job in New Jersey that I think you'd be great for." And I was like, "Well, you asked." He had offered grad school in the past, and I was just like, "Nah, I think I'd do grad school with you." And like seriously, like I had like my elbows were up in wine. I'm like halfway, got the phone like this. I'm like soaked to the bone because if you're doing that, you're cleaning a lot. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll see you in January." so, so then it was off to PhD school. So from there, and his whole thing was he wanted to. PhD projects are individualized. So if you go to do an undergraduate degree, it's kind of a track of you're on a track, you have a little bit of things that you can do off of that track. But PhD programs, you have some classes that you do that's shared with everybody in your area, but your project is yours and they can vary quite a bit. And mine was understanding whiskey barrels because the stuff I was doing in the plant sciences lab was understanding how plant walls were put together. So cell walls and plants, I was learning how to take them apart
Really?
is what we were doing. And then he was like, "Well, you like flavors, you like, all the stuff that you did with me on cell walls. We're going to smash them together into barrels." And I was like, "Okay, sounds great."
So
Sounds
you
like helping
liked
friends for 5 years.
you liked learning about the whiskey barrels before the whiskey. Is that kind of
Yeah.
why you kind of gravitated towards more like the wood finishes that you like to do because you learned more about the barrel before the whiskey?
The question I was asking that was more interesting to me at that time, and if you guys drink a lot of whiskey, you know this, that each barrel of whiskey is innately variable.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you get a chance to go into a rick house with somebody, they can get a barrel that isn't a lot. So it'll be a production group with the same distillate. The barrel will be in the same production lot as well. And all of the barrels will taste different.
Which I still find that so crazy how
Yeah.
even location in the rick house makes such a difference. It's so weird that all the variables that can affect it.
Even sister
by
barrels
like 10
too.
feet. Yeah, like
Yeah.
they could be right next to each other and be drastically different from my experience.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about is like, I understand the chemistry of how we do that and how we get there now. And it still just amazes me that I have barrels that have sat next to each other for 6 years. Same, we use a pallet house at RD1. Those barrels have shared the same pallet for 6 years. Taste all different.
It's
So,
crazy.
did you learn a lot of that at that time? Because I read on my lunch break today the barrel structure, or what was it that you published in like 2022, I think it was. This whole thesis on the different cellulose and whatnot, like the deep diving into the wood and how it changes with the charring and whatnot.
Oh yeah, the cellulose paper. Yeah, that was one of the things that I did, and that was just. It's been interesting to see how that paper's responded. As some people don't care for it because there's this idea that cellulose doesn't change during whiskey maturation, and that's kind of an older thought. And what we did in that paper was show that you break down the wood, and then by breaking down the wood, because wood is composed of a couple different things. You have your cellulose, your hemicellulose, and your lignin. And those chemicals have structures to them. Cellulose in particularly has got a braid to it. So it's kind of like a strand of rope. And if you shatter the structure of it, the rope-like thing, and you have all the little strands coming out, then you can break it down. And that's what we were showing in there is that you take that sugar and it goes into the actual bourbon when you char it. And it's done because the superstructure of the cellulose has been broken.
Huh. Because I was definitely reading that, like, interested, and I was like, that actually kind of helped me understand that paper a little bit more now.
Yeah, it was funny. So true story with that paper, there is a part in it where we do X-ray crystallography stuff, or we do this crystallography thing because cellulose as a structure is crystalline. And I remember I was using an equation in it, not that I'm a math whiz, And I remember chuckling to myself as I was doing it because I remember learning it in general chemistry, going, when in the world am I ever going to use this? And then I end up publishing a paper.
That sounds like college. I feel like why do I even taking this class? I'm never going to use it. And by the way, you learned a lot more in college than I did in 4 years. Like, come on. Like I remember nothing from college at this point. But
Wait, what's college?
Can I also? Yeah, what's college?
Yeah,
Can
I
we
didn't go to
interject?
college.
Which one do you think we should drive first? I know Todd already started drinking, but I don't think Chris and I have. So Todd's a little fast. So
well, I'm having Coke at the moment because I need to caffeine up a little bit for this. I would start with the French oak because that's going to be more in the traditional whiskey wheelhouse before we go into more exotic lands. So,
you already.
I
broke the
love
seal on
French
yours.
oak
I
is
did
one
not
of
do
my favorite finishes.
funny story about French oak. We got a journalist from Forbes reached out to us to make comments on a French oak bourbon story they were doing. And they sent me a bunch of questions, and I did the thing that everyone does. I wait to the last minute and then wrote it. But it was a day after, like, I'd been in the warehouse all day. I was tired and grimy. And I just went into like super analytical mode where I wasn't being very flowery. And it reads like you're reading one of my research papers.
like ChatGPT wrote it, kind of thing.
No. It was
More robotic.
Yeah, more robotic.
it was like not that personable, using like words that I probably should have not have used. I try not to use jargon unless I have to. And I wrote like 3 pages single space and sent it to him. And then I look at the article when it comes out, and I was just like, I should have gotten a byline on that paper. Because he used every single thing I said.
You should have got credit.
Yeah, right.
It was fun. I'd work with that guy again. He was great to work with.
I remember tasting this. I haven't tried this since the festival. I remember this taste from the festival. This is very good.
We don't get RD1 in Maryland, so the only one I've tried is the Amberana, and I've only tried a couple picks of it.
We were talking about that.
Yeah,
we don't
I'm
get
not an
any
Amberana fan.
Yeah, I actually have come to enjoy it recently, but there's a lot of different types of Amberana. I think they're to complement each other, but all 3 of us are in states that we probably get stuff last.
We
so
talked
if you
about
want
that
craft stuff, yeah.
before.
We do have RD1 in state.
Yeah, you get it because you're Georgia. Jarrad and I were talking about that
South
before.
Carolina. Yeah, always.
Oh, you're
screw this
South
up.
Carolina. Okay, that's right.
Just because I'm a Georgia fan.
Well, we were
Just 'cause I'm a
talking
Georgia
about
Bulldogs fan.
only being in certain states, and I remember because he had said one of the biggest was Will's state, Georgia, with all that Amberana, and I said that's the first introduction I had to RD1 was the same one, was the store picks to that. Do you have your Jarrad? You say you're going to get your list. You have your list of the states.
It's the same store that we do picks with now. Funny enough.
Yeah. So you're in. Was I right? 33 states, something like that.
Yeah, we're in 33. Well,
I didn't realize you were in so many states. To be honest, because being like we had talked about earlier today was like being in where I'm at in PA. I'll be hard pressed to ever get RD1 there, but I wish I could.
Yeah, control states are hard to get into, and to my understanding, I have a great sales team here that does a lot of that. My understanding is Pennsylvania is a very challenging state to get into.
Todd's a challenging guy, so it kind of makes sense why he lives there.
That's why I was born here. So so you're not in Pennsylvania. You're not. Where's
the ones you're not in? That's a shorter list.
I would say not in, but where are some of your best? Where are some of your best states? Where are some outside of Kentucky? Where do you guys distribute to a lot? Like, do you have like states that are more demand?
Yeah, Texas is one that's good. Georgia's always good to us. I'm trying to think. This is the part of the meeting that I don't pay attention to very well when we do our weekly meeting.
Because it doesn't involve blending. It doesn't involve blending.
Like,
so I'm not paying attention to that.
Yeah, the other day I was sitting in our weekly meeting and it came around to me and I apologized. Like, I'm sorry I'm yawning. I was blending. So all I've had today for breakfast was whiskey and crackers.
The breakfast like a great morning. That's a breakfast I need.
I was like, I'm so sleepy. So we're not in Pennsylvania. let's see, we are in North Carolina.
Maryland on the list.
Maryland is on the list, I believe.
Ooh, you must be around DC then, because I
Okay,
don't see it up here. At least
I know
Well,
they're
there's-
I'll
in
have to
South
request
Carolina.
it.
There's hope for you, JB. Then
Wait,
There is hope.
It isn't on this list, but I'm positive we're in Maryland. I don't think this one's up to date.
I'll have to see. I have a good relationship with a couple of stores that are good friends with the distributors, so I'll have to see if it's available here.
Yeah, the best way to figure out where we're at would be to do check on our website.
I was going to say, do you guys ship to the states that you don't sell in, or you ship only to where you sell or distribute? I should say.
I think we do have a online distribution, but I'm not real sure on that piece.
Todd, he doesn't pay attention during that portion of the.
we
It
learned
doesn't
that
involve blending.
because I'm going to run out between now and September. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
I know I
till
can get
September.
it. Like I was at my store the other day when we were talking about, okay, we got the interview coming, and it was before y'all were gracious enough to send these packs for us. I was like, all right, let me run to my store and see what we
thank
got.
you.
And there was like 7 options on the shelf. I don't remember what they were. There was like 7 of them, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Which one should I buy? Like, what I like, or maybe not 7, but there was at least a handful. But I haven't checked my North Carolina stores, but I will have to do that since I now.
Yeah, I would
frequent.
wager the other ones than what they had is they probably had the straight, which is a blue label. Straight bourbon.
Definitely that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they probably had, I had to guess, 2 black labeled ones.
I definitely saw at least one black label. I know that.
Yeah, that might have either been the 10-year-old Amberana we have
Ooh.
or the Sister Cities.
That 10-year-old interests me for sure.
It
I-
is. It's
Todd, I will go look. I will text my store later.
Let me know. 'Cause I'm
Speaking of the
curious.
Amberana and the 10-year,
You knew
I
we
know
were
a
getting
lot of
on the
people-
Amberana, didn't you?
but not to go into
You
the
knew it
one
was
that we have
coming.
over
We haven't
here.
even asked. We haven't even asked what RD1 is yet, but we're just go. It's fine. We'll come back to it.
Full
But
circle.
because
Full
we'll full circle
it's- I know.
because
This is
I
just
just
a
have this
recorded
question 'cause I
hangout.
was- right? Because the question I have is, a lot of people are doing Amberanas and cigar blends. Are y'all interested in doing a cigar blend or anything of the sorts, or is that not really on your radar?
The question with the cigar blend is sometimes people say it's a cigar blend, but it doesn't taste like a cigar.
Facts. I agree with that.
Chris and I
So
did a
I have a-
whole ranking, and yeah, we agree with that statement.
I almost wonder what a cigar blend is, other than
Mhm.
it's like, oh, it's a whiskey drink.
It's a
with
name.
Yeah. So no, I'm not planning on doing anything quite like that. And that's just mostly because I have some other things that I find more interesting. And,
It is funny you said that, though, because I had a buddy said to me today, he was trying some stuff, and he's like, what is it, cigar blend? Does it taste like cigars? I was like, I think it's supposed to, but it doesn't always.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I was like, I would say you could have it with a cigar and it would pair well.
yeah, that's where I don't understand what they're getting at with it. You know,
I think they're
100%
interesting
agree.
blends. I think that they're interesting the way that they're built. So I like that being a category, and I'm completely fine with it, because there are some that I've tried where like they might not taste like a cigar, but if I had like a lightweight cigar, it would pair well with it. So
Mhm.
I'm okay with the category, but I think the category is broad, I guess you could say, for
Yeah, it's very broad.
what it
Yeah.
is.
It's also Magnus is like the one that you think of when you think of cigar, at least for me.
Because they're like the OG,
And-
aren't they? Weren't they one of the original?
I
cigar
didn't.
blends?
There was other stuff I liked better when we did a 6 or 7 blind. Well, not blind, but samples.
I guess
ranking.
it's a good segue. I know we had talked a little bit briefly. Like, you, as far as up and coming, you have your staples. You guys don't. Do you have anything you're working on new? Obviously, probably might be too new. You can't talk about it. But do you guys have any stuff that you're working towards that you have goals to create?
You're getting to his side of the
so-
meeting there, Todd. You're finally hitting his side
I'm
of the
hitting the
meeting. We're
blending
pushing
side
it.
of the meeting. I'm,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
we're pushing it.
I'm reeling it in a little bit here.
Yeah. So I'm always working on new stuff. And one of the things that we do try to do at RD1, so Registered Distillery 1 here, is that if you do come do a barrel pick with us,
There you go, JB.
I'm
We,
down. Let's do it.
we do make sure that we have unique items for people to pick from. So one of the things that's really cool, and I was sitting down with a whiskey and wine journalist earlier this week, and she was going through and basically doing the tasting you guys are doing, plus 1 or 2 other things. And she said, wow, usually when I sit down and taste the different expressions, it's tasting shades of gray. So, just it's bourbon, slightly different bourbon.
That's a funny way to put it. I like that.
Yeah,
I thought
right.
it was really great. I was like, I'm going to steal that. But we really try to make things that are going to be different. And right now I am working on a product that will be released in the fall. Um, I can just say that it will have cherry wood in it. Um, and we're working on figuring out exactly what that last bit of touch is going to be to it. So, um, it's creating these things is interesting from like a blending perspective because you don't, and this is where like talking about flavor is so weird because you have to almost talk about it in metaphor. So if you were talking about it as a story, you don't want it. It needs to have a completion. It needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It shouldn't have pokiness to it. So like every once in a while you get a flavor profile that's like jagged. It sticks up real heavy in the middle, or so when you get into that, it gets a little bit tricky. And so right now, we're a pretty small organization, so I usually get feedback from everybody on the team and go, okay, that's what you guys like. I'll make the best version of that we can do. So it's
So when you say fall, will it be ready for the KBF?
hopefully
That
I
would.
should have some. I'm hoping. I have a special thing I'm going to bring to KBF this year.
Oh,
Not upside down spirit hats.
No, I really dislike that hat, but the rest of my team likes it. So
I didn't like the.
I'm
Yeah,
never a fan of the upside down. But that's just me. Come from the
and
one
I
wearing a
found
chicken
out
on his head.
Todd and I were talking before this started, and he was like, "It's very popular at beaches," and I was like, "I haven't been to a beach in like 10 years." So
Like the beach.
Yeah, Kentucky has a lot of beaches. They have a lot of
No,
beaches
well,
in
that's why
Kentucky.
that's why he said that. But I said you go to like some of the beach
Yeah.
towns that are like the upside down thing is so popular, and I've hated them. And I said the reason I like this is because RD1 is normal, and then you got the spirits. It's not just RD1 upside down or Registered Distiller 1 upside.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of combo. Speaking of that, I know JB, you had asked that. So Registered Distiller 1, that's an homage to the first original Registered Distiller in Kentucky, or what's the homage to that?
okay, yeah. So the homage in that is the Ashland Distillery here in Lexington, Kentucky.
Ashland, right? You said?
Yeah, the Ashland Distillery. That's what it was. It's kind of where the Pepper Distillery is now. If you come to Lexington, what happened was before there were TTP numbers, so before you had DSPs, you had something called RD numbers. Okay, so RD numbers came about during the Civil War when they were registering distilleries to start taxing distillate again. Because in the US, they stopped taxing distillate after the Whiskey Rebellion. They said, okay, we won't do that and backed away from it, but they needed revenue during the Civil War, so they went back to taxing whiskey. So before there were DSPs with the re-registration after Prohibition, there was these registration numbers. And there were different tax districts inside of Kentucky, and there were registration numbers all through it. So you would be in your district and you'd have a registration 1 through whatever. And the Ashland Distillery was number 1.
That's, and I love that because if you don't dig deep, you don't know what RD stands for.
But yeah, I get some like things are like, does R&D stand for research and development? And I'm like, to me, it does most days. But
that, okay, is that I love that you said that because I wanted.
I've learned more in this 23 minutes than I did in 4 years of college.
There you
You
go.
could say that because I had 0 college still.
So you are the
makes my life
R
easier.
and D master distiller, which is they created that for you. Is that research and development master distiller? And that's what they created for you when you came over from when you were at the James B. Beam Institute, right? When you came over,
yeah,
they created that for you.
Yeah, what happened was they originally had it as a master distiller position, running our facility here in Lexington. We have a major production facility in Western Kentucky ran by Jacob Kaw that does all of our major production. But it's not a place that you would want people to be at. It's more of steel-toed boots and safety glasses. parking
my
lot had
speed.
like 10 spots. So in Kentucky, I refer to it as, you know, that place on the parkway that has the gas station in the middle of the road, and they go, yeah, and I go, that's where it's at. If you've got Kentucky listeners, they'll go, I know where that is. It's a great facility. They do great work there. So they focus on producing the juice. And then I work on the blending and finishing and doing all that. So what happened is that I had met RD1 while I was at UK. And then whenever I applied for the position, they're like, okay, we're going to lean into all of your strengths that you bring to the team. And that was mostly coming through with this research background. So I even use some of those same strategies while doing blending. So it's not uncommon if you were to come into my lab here in Lexington, you would see 5 or 6 bottles with scribbles on it all next to each other. And it's usually me tweaking something just in little incremental amounts to see where I want it to go. And then I fine tune it more and more and more.
So so now,
So cool.
now you're in Lexington, which that I wanted to talk about that because that's fairly new. The location there in Lexington, which is where you're sitting in that green screen behind you.
The green screen.
I swear it's not.
That is not a green screen.
It's a TV screen.
Pre-show, JB pointed out that it is so picture perfect. It looks like it could be a green screen.
It looks almost like they're so perfectly separated. Like,
which means it's done right. I mean, let's be honest. It's that good looking that it looks fake. It's got. So you're in Lexington, which is a smaller. You haven't been there long? Is it 2 years, if that?
Our current our new building. We will be celebrating our 1-year anniversary.
I was going to say it is brand new.
April. Yeah, it's brand new. It's great. Anyone who's done any type of construction knows that the first year of a building is troubleshooting.
Mm-hmm.
Really, if you could get your pick, you want a building that's like 5 years old.
When the punch list of corrections is done,
or where you find out like all the things that were wrong get fixed or found out. So like. There was a different build project I did. There was something where they hadn't turned the water on all the way, but if we turned the water on in the cooker full blast, you couldn't flush the toilets. That was
Now that is construction 101 right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was at the Dean Institute there for a little bit. And then they realized that the water wasn't all the way open at the
Hey,
street.
we're making whiskey. Don't flush the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay.
No bathroom,
filling the
30
cooker.
minutes.
Yeah.
So you at the distillery at the Lexington location, you have the speakeasy. What all features does that have for people to come? Because that's where you want people to come visit. That's where you want to do the tours, the tastings and stuff, right?
Yeah, our location here in Lexington has got a different kind of tour. We have some videos showcasing the Western Kentucky facility, talking about wood finishing. We have a smaller still here where we're doing to do small distillery releases. It's really set up more for R&D. So it's for me to do playing with basically. And then we highlight some of the different wood finishes. The other thing that we have here that's an interesting experience is generally we'll have 4 experimental barrels that people can come in and do a bottle your own experience and try kind of the oddities that I have around.
You said the oddities you have around?
Yeah.
So they're bottling something that you're not buying on a shelf.
Yeah. Normally,
That's cool.
Which is
right
awesome.
now, we're a little behind
That's worth
schedule, but I'm sure by the time this comes out, this will change. Usually we have 4 barrels that are experimental in some way.
Mhm.
So it's a barrel finish that I've done that's a little bit different. It's one that was in our single barrel collection that we just brought out, and you have that. And then we have other bottles that you can purchase that you can only get here. So like one example is that I did a Palo Santos finish. So Palo Santos is translates as holy wood. It comes from Peru.
I could drink that on Sundays.
I'm sorry?
Right?
I could drink that on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our Sunday pour now.
Yeah,
Official.
Poly Santos, you said, right?
Paul Santos. I think that's how you pronounce it. So it's translated, if I recall correctly, from Spanish into Saint Stick.
Todd, you can't have it on Sunday.
No, never mind. So what does that entail? And that's one you can only buy there at your location.
Yeah, so that would be an example of it. We had some eucalyptus wood a finish of that we just sold through and finished bottling the leftover remnants. So at a certain point, the barrels, you can't get any more liquid out of it for somebody to come in and like bottle your own. But we'll just like tap the bottom of the barrel and bottle it ourselves. And then those are some things that people can get a hold to. So there's always interesting things here at the our Lexington location,
which is it's a great draw for people to come because you get to see the location, see the still, learn a little bit, and then get stuff like you can't get anywhere else. Like you and I had talked before, where like the reason I love coming to Kentucky is the stuff you can't get in my control state. So now I like RD1. I've tried this. This was on the shelf. You can go to you and get something you can't visiting that location. You can get something you can't get anywhere else, and that you might not get the next time you go there either, which I like.
Yeah, because we run through it each year. I get a clutch of barrels, and the team here goes, "Have fun, Jarrad. Do what you're going to do to them."
Do you have a collection? Like, so I would love to know what do you have a whiskey or do you have an RD1 collection? Do you have like at the end, like I take a little bit home with me. I've got, I don't know if you could answer that question or not. If you can't, just honestly cough to the left and we will not continue this conversation.
We will edit that out.
But I'm saying,
turn the green screen off.
Do you have like a collection of like your little baby projects, like stuff that you've like your tests over the time that you've liked?
Hands
off,
no touchy in the corner.
I have I keep most of that stuff in the lab. But while we were building this facility, I was doing a lot of that work at home, and my wife would come into my office in our basement, and there's just like bottles everywhere with scrawl, things written all over it, and she
loved it, right?
No. Yeah, the other Dr. Gollihue did not find that amusing. So, and she's still like, "Okay, you have an office at the distillery now. You should get these bottles out of here." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get there eventually." So
I'm sure it was a project moving that many, even if they were small. I'm sure it was like, all right, that's a couple hours to pack up.
Yeah, and you go into the warehouse and you'll pull samples for blending, and then you'll have reference bottles if we send something out to somebody. So it adds up, and you have piles and piles. For me, I just have stuff around. I don't think I have like a favorite at the moment because I'm always working on so much stuff.
You're always trying something new.
Well, I feel like for you, it's always different. Like you're trying,
you have to try something.
Like you already have your regular stuff, and then you're trying different things compared to what consumers are drinking, right?
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes I'll go back and do a deep dive into our current products to see if flavor drift's going on. Do some of that blending as well, and that then it's always fun because then it's like, well, I've got 12 bottles of Amberana at barrel proof. What the hell am I going to do with this?
So one of the questions I have, because talking about all the stuff that you have that's only distillery only, have you seen any of the bottles or expressions that you put out there that were like so popular that you're going to debate doing again? Like you kind of use that as like a test market in a way as well, to be like, damn, this one was super popular. It sold quick. We're going to start planning to offer it more often.
Yeah. We have ran across that, and I'm going to actually join in a pour of the Amberana we can move through.
All right. I got mine pre-poured, so sweet.
Oh, we're going there. I like it.
I just
Let's
tried
see if it's an Amberana I like.
Was it the honey? Maple?
I just poured that double oak maple.
The maple.
Yeah, double oak maple. I just poured a little bit.
Yeah. So
I didn't even get to that one yet, but
we're going Amberana first.
Real quick, I have not been a fan of Amberana. I've tried a handful. There's one at my local distillery I love. There's a lot I haven't. So hopefully this one's good because I want to love this one.
I love this one. You will like it.
Well, we have the guy on the podcast, Chris, and you're just shitting on his
just
brand.
that guy.
You know me.
I'm probably not going to like
honest. You know I'm honest. Hey, I will never not be.
See, this has a great nose compared to some Amberana stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to overdo it on Amberana for sure. So
that's not overdone. That's perfect. No, that honestly is. Jesus.
Yeah.
Chris is eating his words now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question
I never said it was bad. I said I wanted to like it.
That is
your question about if there's things that we wanted to bring we did single barrels that I haven't wanted to do. Yeah, there has been some of those. One example is a barrel that was in Beaumont, Texas. We sold, and it was a blackberry wine barrel. So,
Ooh. Oh, that's
and
interesting.
yeah, and most people don't realize this. Like, if you add sugar to wine, generally you add it before bottling. You don't add it in the barrel. You can with some dessert wines, you can get away with that. But that was one that if I could find more blackberry wine barrels, I would probably do it. The problem is that there's not a lot of blackberry wine that's barrel aged in the US. A lot of times it is a blackberry grape combination
Mm-hmm.
instead of just blackberry juice that's fermented. And the wine chemistry on blackberries is a little tricky because you're going to have to add tartaric acid for stability. You're going to probably also have to add sugar to get the alcohol content up because blackberries themselves have a ton of sugar for the yeast to eat. So it's a challenging fruit to work with. But we did one of those barrels and everybody loved it. And then I asked our barrel brokers that we work with, I was like, can you find me more of these? And they went, no, there's no more. So
I feel like you'd almost have to go to like those small mom and pop wineries that do the fruit wines strictly, but then you'd be limited on what the barrels they could provide would be. But I can imagine the blackberry provides such a subtle natural sweetness to it without having to add too much. I feel like
well, you got to remember that when you ferment something, all the sugar's gone.
true.
Yeah, because
So
the yeast eats it all.
yeah, the yeast eats most of it, unless you've got some like complex sugars that aren't going to be broken down by the yeast. But usually bacteria will eat those. Yeah, it just kind of gave it a perception. It was a dry blackberry flavor that paired really well with bourbon. And it was a barrel of one. I know that our team tried it and they were just like, Jarrad, make more of this. And I was like, I can't.
I tried. Right? It's like I tried. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Quick, so you're trying the
RD1.
RD1.
Amber.
I'm saying the green label for this, but you've tried
the
the store.
Amberana.
You've tried the store picks before this, so you haven't had their not shelfer, I guess you could say. Like I have the Distiller Row one here.
Right.
I feel like this is. I like
This is
this.
different.
It's different, right? I like this a
I
little
think it's
bit
different
better.
than the there's a store in Columbus, Georgia that we actually do. Chris and I run a group and Todd's in it, and we that store did a pick before we started partnering with them, and one of our owners sold like cases and cases of it, and I got to try some of a sample, and I was like, oh, this is really good. I just think it's a little too sweet. But coming to this, I'm like,
I was waiting to hear that.
Never
Yeah.
mind, it's not as sweet as what it was. I don't know if it's just that this is newer or whatever, but
So
also I had a question about the proofs too.
I was gonna say, hold on. What's the proof of the store pick that y'all had?
I can't remember.
The one from
117 something.
117.4 is the Distiller Row one from the KBF.
Okay, so
117.4.
So 117, but that's less proof, or that's more proof than this one here. And y'all were saying that it might have been too sweet.
Yeah, I want to say like so. This has this. I love that, but for like if you want less sweetness, this one has such a more evenly balanced palate, not as sweet than the other ones, and I like the Amberana in this one.
Yeah. So Amberana is an interesting wood. If you can see on video, we use these honeycomb pieces. We have a set amount we add, and we monitor the finishing really closely. And on the perceived sweetness side, when you are proofing things down, you can modify the flavor profile quite a bit. So before this, Todd and I were chatting a little bit, and I was talking about proofing studies where you can really notice a flavor difference can be profound by a proof point. So if you were to look through the 3-pack we sent you, the French oak, the Amberana, and oak and maple, they all have different proofs.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why some distillers go with a straight 90 proof. It's really makes the economics good because water's cheap.
Yep. Facts.
It's not
Right.
free, it's cheap.
You said it.
Um,
Yep. He's not
But-
wrong. It is cheap.
It is.
Yeah, it's because you have to use RO water for this. And it just comes down to you can get a really profound difference on it. So for me, whenever I'm blending new products up, I don't know if I think it's always a good idea to go for like a super high barrel proof. There are consumers out there that really want the hazmat stuff, but those barrels are kind of hard to generate in our warehouse. So, you know, at Kentucky Bourbon Festival last year, I had a single barrel I released that was through the gift shop, and we also brought it for that festival, and it was at 119, I think it was, and that just surprised me because our warehouse generally isn't generating higher alcohol. It's in a
Interesting.
spot. When you get to like the flavor profiles, you can profoundly change them by just some water. And one of the things that folks might enjoy doing at home, when I'm doing blending here at the lab, I do my blends one day and I let them sit overnight at least, and then come back and do sensory on them the next day. They have to be in a closed bottle for about a day, and
Right.
the flavor profile is drastically different. It gives me an idea what's going to happen with like the hedonistic sensation. So like the burning, like how's it going to feel in the throat? For whatever reason, it needs to sit and it needs to hang out.
The
I guess,
molecules need to
mingle.
mingle.
Well, there's definitely been times where I've tried a bottle, fresh pop, fresh crack, whatever. I've opened a bottle and then I've let it sit and come back and either liked it more or less after it's been open for 30, 60 days, whatever. Like actually, when we talked earlier today, one of the things, one of the original Ambaranas I tried, I didn't love it. And then I came back about a month later. I didn't like, it was better. It wasn't as crazy. And I've done that with a lot of bottles where at first I'm like, I don't like you. And I tried it 30 days later and the palate's change. It's the same thing with like wine, where when you aerate it, the flavors open up a little bit. There's been bourbons where I've liked or disliked more or less after coming back to it.
Oh yeah, and I have a bottle of scotch at home. I don't care for scotch.
Right. We're right
But-
there with you.
I also
Subjective.
just like to know what everyone's doing. And I had one, and I remember I was talking to one of my friends named Jimmy, and I was like, Jimmy, this tastes like an ashtray.
It
that
really,
that peated.
And he was like,
Peat is an acquired taste.
Facts.
well, with this one, he said, okay, well, try it in 30 days. Like, you open it, let it sit. And I tried it again, and I was like, it's better, but I still don't like it. But, I remember that conversation I had with him with something also, like, I asked him because he was drinking something like a little Freud, and I was like, Jimmy, it tastes like a damn tire fire. And he goes, a damn tasty tire fire.
Tasty tire.
Oh, dude, I am not gonna lie to you. When I was at my store the other day, my dad was like, I want a scotch for my birthday, which is next week. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. Actually, no, it's today. No, tomorrow. And I was like, all right, I'll get you a scotch. And literally my store was talking about the scotch. He goes, it is literally this with rubber. And there's someone pouring samples. She's like, why does that sound terrible? Like, why would you tell me it sounds like rubber or tastes like rubber? Like, no, that is off-putting.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting. Like whenever you get into the making new products, is that you have to think about what people enjoy for that class of spirits. Like if you brought a rubber tire fire to a bourbon profile, I don't know if bourbon consumers would like that.
No, that's not up their alley.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
those guys
Well,
are already drinking scotch, but we're at with us trying to make novel flavor profiles. Every once in a while I get somebody who goes, I don't like that, and I go, that's okay.
I mean,
No.
everybody's palate's subjective, and I think for me too, like this Amberana is better, but the French oak is surprising because I'm not a huge French oak guy, but I think this is very good as well.
I agree. Now,
See,
I have a question
I'm a
for
French oak guy, and I love that French oak. It is, to me, it is one of the smoothest nose palate, mouthfeel. It's just so smooth.
See,
to me.
I don't hate French oak. It's just not my go-to typically, but this one has like the right balance. Now, the Amberana is one that I've typically found that I don't like, even coming back to it like we talked about before. but this one is on par. Like I will actually take some of this and blind it, probably this weekend with my local distillery, which is the one Amberana that I found that I love, because I'm like, damn, these are
I'm curious,
really, really close.
It's funny. I was waiting to do this because I knew that the comments on the store picks, and I figured when it dumbed down the sweetness a little bit, I figured you were gonna like that.
Yeah, it is the
Jarrad,
right balance of.
Oh,
It's the right balance of Amberana. I think this is one of the ones that actually is balanced properly. Now, going into that, I know we're not allowed to talk about how long you finished any of these, but my question is,
you never ask a
Amberana,
man how long it takes to finish.
That's kind of
we
rude.
know that
dude.
Amberana is a challenging wood, right? We know Amberana is a challenging wood. Is there any other barrels or wood types that you've dealt with that are as challenging or almost as challenging as Amberana, where you have to monitor it that consistently?
The Palo Santos was one.
I need that now.
I know. I feel like I need that too.
I'll stick one back for you. I'll see you at KDF this year.
I will definitely be here.
Yeah.
Todd, send me a sample at least.
I will.
yeah, Todd, I'm a sample.
Yeah, Palo Santo is one. There's another wood that we have actually currently here at the distillery called Balsamo. It's another Brazilian wood.
Mhm.
It's not balsam, it's Balsamo, it's Portuguese. So
Yeah, it's not like balsam wood you get everywhere.
yeah, this is not the same thing. I think the English name for this one's like Saint Mahogany is the name of it in common. Anyways, that wood has got a flavor profile that is odd to follow. And I should probably put a caveat on this is when you're doing finishing, mash bill and age profoundly change what you get. So like with Sister Cities and our Tenure Amberana, those were source liquids that had our non-standard mash bill and they behave different. So
okay,
that, just because you don't like one finish doesn't mean you're going to like it for somebody else. So they do travel around.
that explains a lot. To be honest, that answers a lot of questions just in that one statement.
Yeah, it's shocking how much mash bill will impact how finishing works. So Balsamo wood has that. There's like the way I would describe it is it gets into a point where I'm happy with it, but right before it gets to where I want it to be, which is this like red fruit flavor profile, it goes through this stage that tastes like licorice meets watermelon pop rocks. And
that is very
kind of sounds interesting. I kind of want to try it now.
well, I don't make it that way, so it's one of those ones that I'm just like, okay, that one took us a year to figure out. It's not used by a ton of distillers because if you're going to go the full barrel route with Balsamo, you're going to overshoot really quickly. It's kind of like Amberana. If you do a full barrel of Amberana, you can very quickly go too far. So much so that our CEO here got offered a really good deal on some Amberana barrels, and he asked me if I wanted them, and I said I'd drill a hole in the other side and we do a pour through.
Just a touch of it, just a pass through.
Yeah, just wave it over to the top.
You can call that bottle the Passover.
Talking drinking on Sunday again.
Yeah, right. It's another Sunday bottle.
Yeah, it's that one's tricky. We had a wood here that I did that was sandalwood.
Interesting.
See, that would intrigue me.
It was intriguingly bad. Would be the way.
Is it?
What that I was going to ask that. Like, what's the worst one? What's like we talked about the best ones, but like, what's the one that you won't never do again, or you're like, that's just terrible. I can't.
Sandalwood sounds pretty bad, accordingly.
Yeah, sandalwood was one that we would have been allowed to do through the regulatory pathway. There was that's an allowed flavoring material for food in the U.S. It just had a roadkill afternote, so that was bad. And then the one that I was tried.
Roadkill. Hey guys, buy this bottle. It tastes like roadkill.
Yeah, well, it was funny. Is it was great for like the first 12 hours, and it had this like it was like whiskey for someone who drinks gin. And then it had this musky roadkill note that I was like, well, that's dead.
That's not
Literally.
Yeah. So that one was bad. And then there was one wood I did that went, oh, this just tastes like poison. Um, and that was orange tree. Like,
Really?
yeah, that one was really bad. Like that one went into a fire.
So I gotta add. I gotta add. So
Straight to the burn
RD1
pit.
is known for the wood finishes. Why such accent on heavy wood finishes? Is that just the niche that they want to have, or is there a reason behind that?
Or is it because of
Well,
you and your
Yeah,
background in that
or
way?
did you bring that there?
it is was set before I got here. So the RD1 was already in that space, and then and to be honest, when I applied, I didn't 100% realize that's where they were going. But then it was a really good match for
Yeah, I feel like that kind of fits what you do. Like you're a great fit for them to be their blender, their distiller, like
yeah.
to take that to the next level.
Yeah, they had worked on a lot of it, kind of figuring out. But then, as far as things that we could bring past that point, I was able to know a little bit more because I had spent time researching what those were at university. And what was cool about that is that like a lot of the funkier woods in the world that are used for spirits are used in Brazil. And while I was in graduate school, the guy who sat behind me, um, well, one of the guys, he was a Brazilian. Um, so he knew that what I worked on, and we would chat. And he's like, "Oh, we've got Shikaza at home," and he would tell me some funny stories about how his dad, or not his dad, his grandfather would like make homemade Shikaza and get drunk on the heads. And I was like, "That's not safe." But they would use those different woods there. That's some of it, and then but I usually bring things down to a very granular level. That was the other thing that I helped with. Is they jokingly said was before I got here, they were just chucking wood into a barrel and seeing what happened. Where
So you
whenever I roll up, I'm like, we need
you
X
kept them
amount of
under wraps a
kilograms need
little.
to go in.
Have you done anything with wine since your background was wine before bourbon?
Okay, yeah, that's a fair question. We did the blackberry wine.
Okay.
One that was one. We're debating if we want to bring in some wine barrels. Whenever you get into like the barrel sourcing stuff, it gets a little tricky. So for two things is that wine can go bad. Um, and as those barrels sit empty, you don't want to add those in. So where I'm at in Lexington, there's a really good community of alcoholic beverage producers. There's a cider mill down the road. There's breweries all around me. And I take our barrels and I give them to them and they finish stuff in it and then or age, cider or beer in it. Then I'll take them back and I'll put whiskey back in it. So then that barrel got 3 products out of it instead of just one. And then it makes a single barrel that someone's gonna be really excited about because they're just like, well, if I want it again, I have to convince them to do it again. And then also it's gonna take time. So
I like that
um,
exclusivity nature of it, which is kind of cool.
yeah, and that's like a
Yeah.
small scale thing. So like that's where we can do store picks and things like that. Um, we haven't done any other wine yet. We're kind of looking at it because I think that doing it in conjunction with a wood finish to get novel flavors is really cool. But like I said, those wine barrels are a little tricky because sometimes they go off. We've got right now the U.S. wine market is in a really bad shape,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Facts.
have a feeling we're going to end up in a situation like sherry is, where the barrel being having a sherry barrel, the barrel is worth more than the liquid.
Oh,
That's
that
And
makes
crazy.
sense.
yeah, and it's going to be that the wine is going to be flavoring barrels that are being sold to distillers because there's more of a demand for the barrel than anything else. So
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. We're not quite there yet, but
You could see
it's
it heading down that path.
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm like we were talking about a sherry finish here and one of our tasting room hosts was like, "What is sherry? Or who drinks sherry?" And I said, "Fraser Crane." Um, so,
Great reference.
which they're all Gen
Fantastic.
Z, and they're just like, "What are you talking about?" So
That's a great reference. I do prefer wine aged in bourbon or whiskey barrels more than I prefer bourbon in wine barrels. I think that the crossover, like we had talked earlier, my wine background, I love red wines, I love wines, but there's some great wines that are finished or aged in whiskey or bourbon barrels that I love so much more than the opposite. I just I just think the flavor comes through a little bit more in the finishes. Like it's like drinking a Malbec, and then when you exhale, you get a bourbon exhale. Like I'd like that better with the red wines than adversely.
It's interesting because like I actually don't care for wine that's been heavily oaked. Um, and true story. I was in Napa, had been brought in to speak on barrels because I was at a barrel symposium, and some of my friends, they take me to this winery, and in the car to the winery, I go on this like mini tirade about how I really dislike Chardonnays that are overly oaked, and
I concur.
because I'm just like, man, you took this beautiful fruit and you destroyed it with just hammering a bunch of toasty oak into it. And then we get to the winery and they're asking us some questions, and they bring us this like bonus pour as a thank you for coming because we're all in the alcoholic beverage industry. And it's a Chardonnay, and they all know. When they all turn and look at
Did
me, and they're like,
everybody just go?
Yeah, they're all looking
"Like,
over
I
like,
didn't
what?
know. Like,
Come on.
I'm from that world so much out being in Kentucky. And I took a sip of it, and I was like, "Thank you so much for this," and then said it.
Now, this could be a dumb question. Is there any reason why distilleries haven't used muscadine wine barrels? Because coming from the South, muscadine wine, that's a thing for us. We love that. Is there a reason why?
So it depends. So just to give you guys a peek behind the scenes. So if we're going to do a limited time release for us, we need about 35-ish barrels to do that. Finding a winery that's going to have 35 muscadine barrels is going to be hard
Okay.
because that
Interesting.
is what's 35 times 53.
No, that's
A lot.
if you
I am
carry,
a math
if you
whiz.
carry
That's
the
a lot.
two,
I'm not the math major either, so no, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's
I'm
how
good
many
at looking at
gallons.
it, not doing it in the air.
Yeah, so that would be how many gallons it would be, and that's a ton of muscadine wine. So that's what it comes down to with a lot of it, is just trying to be the logistics of going, okay, how do I get this? Also, not all wine pairs well with whiskey.
True.
I- in some of it, I don't understand why. It's intriguing. Now I don't have the equipment to dive into it here. Sometimes whenever you do those pairings, because we'll do bench trials, and it'll come out as just hot, and it doesn't go away. It's just hot. It burns, and I don't know what that is, but it is something that does come up.
Which is funny because I feel like you could I mean, on surface level, you could think of a wine that would pair with a whiskey, be it Scotch, Irish, whatever. Like, I feel like you could find a level of wine to pair with any of it, but you're right, it doesn't always go well with what you're pairing.
Right. And especially like you said earlier with the mash bills, I didn't realize that was that drastic of a difference.
Yeah, it is, and it always surprises me. So, we play with different mash bills here on occasion. Like our normal mash bill is one thing, but whenever I'm starting to do LTOs, I'll go play around with whatever's in the warehouse or what's on the market. And yeah, they're profoundly different. They all perform differently. Um, and sometimes you want that. Right now I'm working on our LTO for the fall, and the base liquid for it needed some older stuff in it to add some earthy notes to it because it was too ethereal, high flying. It needed to be brought back down to add some like darker notes and characteristics.
That was part one. I hope you enjoyed it. Part two coming right behind this one, so please stay tuned. And again, follow us, Game Set Mash and Booze and Ballin'.